Hey guys, welcome back to Alleviated Soul. So today we are continuing with the part 3 to the chapter King Anga, Vena and Prthu Mahārāja Canto 4. Any cruel person who has no compassion for others and thus is only interested in his personal maintenance, whether he be a man, woman or eunuch, deserves to be killed by the king. Because you have become so proud, I will cut you into small pieces like grain and then uphold the entire population by the strength of my personal mystic powers. As he spoke, King Prthu looked just like Yamaraja because of his great anger. After hearing his words, Dhara, the earth, who was still trembling due to fear, replied as follows: My dear Lord, I am one of the parts and parcels of your gigantic universal body. You have created me as a resting place for the living entities, and so I am perplexed as to why you now want to kill me. Previously, in the form of Varaha, you rescued me from the depths of the Garbhodaka ocean, and for this reason you received the name Dharadhara. Now, however, you are prepared to kill me with your sharp arrows, and thus I am bewildered by your activities. Even after hearing the earth's prayers, Mahārāja Prthu was not pacified, and thus his lips trembled with rage. When she saw this, the earth continued speaking, My lord, please suppress your anger and hear what I have to say. For a learned person will take the essence of knowledge from anyone, just as a bumblebee collects honey from each and every flower. My dear king, the seeds, roots, herbs and grains that had been created by Lord Brahma were being utilized by the non-devotees, as was my very self. Because there was no proper king to punish these rascals and thieves that were utilizing the food grains for their sense gratification instead of the performance of sacrifice, I hid them within me. Due to being stored for a long time, these seeds have certainly deteriorated, and so you should immediately arrange to retrieve them for utilization as recommended by Shastra and the previous acharyas. O great hero, if you desire to supply sufficient grains and other food to the citizens, then you should arrange for a suitable calf, pot and milkman. Due to the great affection that I will feel for my calf, you will be able to take from me as much of the necessities of life as you like. In addition, if you level my surface, that will also help in the production of food by increasing the retention of water, even if there is sometimes less rainfall. King Prthu accepted this, and thus he became pacified. Thereafter, he transformed Swayambhuva Manu into a calf and milked all the herbs and grains from the cow-shaped earth, keeping them within his cupped hands. Then, following in King Prathu's footsteps, other intelligent beings proceeded to milk the earth to obtain whatever they desired. The great sages transformed Brihaspati into a calf and made the senses into a pot. In this way, they milked the earth of all kinds of Vedic knowledge for the purpose of purifying everyone's mind, words and hearing. The demigods transformed Indra into a calf and milked the earth of the Soma beverage, which they kept in a golden pot. Due to drinking Soma Rasa, the demigods became very powerful in terms of bodily, sensual and mental strength. The Daityas transformed Prahlada into a calf and then extracted various kinds of liquor and beer, which they kept in an iron pot. The Gandharvas and Apsaras transformed Vishwavasu into a calf and drew out milk in the form of sweet music and heavenly beauty, putting it into a lotus flower pot. The inhabitants of Pitraloka made Aryama into a calf and then milked the earth of Kavya, which is food offered to the ancestors, and then put into an unbaked earthen pot. Thereafter, the Siddhas and Vidyadharas transformed the great sage Kapila into a calf and milked the earth of mystic powers, which they placed in a pot that had been made out of the entire sky. Others, such as the Kimpurusas, made the demon Maya into a calf and milked the power of appearing and disappearing at will, called Antardhana. Next, the Yakshas, Rakshasas, Bhutas, and Pishachas, who are all accustomed to eating flesh, transformed the Rudra incarnation of Lord Shiva into a calf and milked beverages made from blood, which they placed into a pot made of skulls. Then cobras and other snakes without hoods, as well as scorpions and other poisonous animals, transformed Takshaka into a calf and took poison from the earth and kept it within their snake holes. The four-legged animals made Nandi, the bull carrier of Lord Shiva, into a calf and thus got green grass that they put into a pot made from the forest. Ferocious animals made a calf from a lion and were thus able to get flesh from the earth. The birds made Garuda into a calf and then took from the earth various moving insects and non-moving plants and grasses. The trees made a calf out of a banyan tree and thus derived milk in the form of many delicious juices. The mountains transformed the Himalayas into a calf and then milked varieties of minerals from the earth and placed them into a pot that had been made from the peaks of hills. Thus, during the reign of King Prthu, the earth supplied all the necessities of life to every living creature. Because of this, Mahārāja Prthu became very satisfied with the earth and developed affection for her just as if she were his own daughter. The king leveled the surface of the earth by breaking up the hills with his powerful bow, and after doing so, he divided the land into various types of residential quarters. These sections were then allotted for different purposes, and thus Prthu Mahārāja established numerous towns, villages, agricultural fields, and mining areas. Before the era of Prthu Mahārāja, there were no planned cities, villages, farms, or pasturing grounds, for everyone had simply constructed their residences according to their own convenience. Sometime thereafter, Prthu Mahārāja initiated the performance of 100 horse sacrifices at the place known as Brahmavarta, where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. During this great sacrificial performance, the entire earth became like a Kamadhenu, and thus all kinds of necessities of life were produced in abundance. The oceans were full of pearls and jewels, and the mountains contained ample minerals which were washed down by the rivers to fertilize the land. The cows supplied profuse milk, the trees gave abundant honey and fruit, and all the demigods and men who attended the sacrifice presented various gifts to King Prthu. Indra, who is known as Shatakratu due to having performed 100 Ashwamedha Yagnas, could not tolerate the idea that Prthu Mahārāja might exceed his religious performances, and so he became very envious. Thus, while Mahārāja Prthu was performing the last of his 100 Ashwamedha Yagnas, Indra appeared there invisibly and stole the sacrificial horse. The great sage Atri could see Indra fleeing through outer space, and so he informed Prthu Mahārāja's son about the theft. The heroic prince immediately picked up his bow and gave chase to the king of heaven, and as he did so, he angrily challenged him by calling out, "Wait, wait." Then, when King Prthu's son saw that Indra was wearing the saffron-colored dress of a sannyasi, had ashes smeared over his body and hair that was knotted on top of his head, he refrained from releasing his arrows, considering him to be a saintly person. Thereafter, when Prthu's son returned to the sacrificial arena, after having been deceived by Indra, Atri ordered him by saying, "Kill the king of heaven, for he has become the worst of demigods by impeding your father's sacrifice." Once again, Prthu's son gave chase, and upon seeing this, Indra fearfully let go of the sacrificial horse, gave up his false dress, and made himself once again invisible. When the great sages saw King Prthu's son return with the sacrificial horse, they greatly appreciated his wonderful prowess and so gave him the name Vijitaswa. Soon thereafter, powerful Indra created dense darkness that began to engulf the entire sacrificial arena. Then, taking advantage of the confusion that followed, Indra released the horse from the golden shackles that had kept it bound up near the wooden instrument used for sacrificing animals. Once again, Atri pointed out to Vijitaswa Indra fleeing through the sky. When the son of Prthu Mahārāja gave chase, this time he saw that Indra was dressed as a sannyasi who carries a skull on the end of his staff. At first, Vijitaswa was reluctant to attack the saintly person, but finally, at Atri's insistence, he angrily placed an arrow on his bowstring. When Indra saw this, he immediately let go of the sacrificial horse and after giving up his false dress, became invisible. Again and again, Indra attempted to steal King Prthu's sacrificial horse, and while doing so, he became the originator of various false sannyasa orders, such as those who go naked and others who call themselves Kapalika. Whatever forms Indra assumed should be recognized as symbols of atheistic philosophy, and although they may be very much appreciated by sinful men, those who adopt them are adherents of religion in dress only. At last, King Prthu personally picked up his bow and arrows to kill Indra for having introduced so many bogus sannyasa orders. When the priests saw how the enraged Prthu was prepared to kill the king of heaven, they requested, "O king, do not slay Indra, for only animals were allowed to be sacrificed according to the directions of Shastra. By trying to impede your sacrifice, Indra has already diminished his power. By utilizing certain mantras, we will call for him and thus cast your enemy into the sacrificial fire." The sacrificial priest began summoning Indra in a very angry mood, just as they were going to pour the oblations into the fire. However, Lord Brahma appeared there and forbade them. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Brahmanas, you should know that Indra is one of the most powerful assistants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are trying to satisfy the demigods by the performance of this yajna, but you should understand that they are all parts and parcels of Indra. How then can you think of killing the king of heaven?" Thank you for listening. Next part will be continued in the next video.